Okay, so here we're going to look at a specific math operator called the modulo operator. And the purpose of the modulo operator is to do a division operation and get the remainder. Okay, so I'm going to open up the Python interpreter here first, so we just run it directly. And so Python division, 6 divided by 4, gives us 1.5. Now Python 2 previously used to just do inner division here. If we want to do integer division, so how many times does 4 go into 6? We get 1. Okay, and so if on the other hand we wanted the remainder, if we want to divide 6 by 4 and get the remainder, we use this percent symbol, which in this context is the modulo operator. And what it does is it gives us the remainder. Okay, so 6 modulo 6 is 0. 6 modulo 7 is going to be 6, because it's going to be 0 remainder 7, or 0 remainder 6. 4 modulo 3, it's going to be 4 divided by 3. We find the remainder, so 3 goes into 4 one time. We have a remainder of 1. 12 modulo 10 is going to give us 2, because we divide by 10, and we have 2 left over. This can be helpful for determining divisibility. For example, if we want to know if a number goes into something else, and we do the modulo operator, we would expect to get a remainder of 0. And so 100 modulo 10 should be 0 because 100 is divisible by 10. On the other hand, 100 modulo 9 is not going to be 0 because 100 is not divisible by 81 modulo 3 is going to be 0 because 81 is divisible by 3. 83 modulo 3 is going to be 2. It's not 0 because 83 is not divisible by 3. Okay? So that's the modulo operator. And so here's some thoughts about how you might go about using it. So we could say enter, let's get a number here. So I'm going to say number equals int. We're going to convert our input to an integer, and we're going to get an input. And we're going to say, please enter a number. And let's do some checks on it. So we'll say if number %2 or %3, we don't need the parentheses here, let's get rid of those, is equal to 0, we can say number is divisible, oops, there we go, by 3. Okay, and we can do another check. Let's do an elif. Well, let's just do ifs. So if we do an elif, it only does each check once. So you get numbers that are divisible by multiple things. If number %4 equals 0, let's say number is divisible by 4. Let's use the symbol instead of the word. And so we got the 4 right there. Let's try it again. We'll say if, we'll copy both these lines. We'll do a check for 5. Okay. And a check for 6. Okay. So now if we run this, we're going to say Python modulo operator.py, or enter 24. 24 is divisible by 3, by 4, and by 6. Okay, and so in each case, we had a remainder of 0 for 3, a remainder of 0 for 4, and a 0 for 6, not for 5. If we want a number that is divisible by all those things, 60 is divisible by 3, 4, 5, and 6. We could try one that's divisible by none, and you can see it doesn't print anything. Okay, and so this modulo operator can be used to determine divisibility, okay, by comparing it to 0, right? If you want to know if it's divisible by 4, if you want to know if it's divisible by 2, you can add that right here. If you want to know that it's divisible by 10, or 100, okay, and so on. Additionally, there's some other things we could do here, right? So maybe we want to say, we could say, maybe we want to find out if what the number ends with. So we could say if number %10 modulo 10 equals 1, you could say print this number ends in a 1, or ends with a 1. Okay, so let's run this. Let's type in 101, right? That number ends with a 1. Let's type in 11. This number ends with a 1. Let's type in 12. Doesn't end with a 1, but it's divisible by 2, 3, 4, and 6. So let's say you want to know what it ends with. This is the way you could do it. And then even if you want to compare like the tens place, you could use the 100 there. And so this is a pretty powerful tool. Sometimes in some contexts you use it a lot. In other contexts you may never use it. I'm trying to think about the ways that I use it. I usually use it, when do I use this? Maybe with, I don't use this that often, I think. I use it for counting. So a way that you might use this is, let's say that you're counting, have a counter, and we'll get into loops later, but this counter keeps counting up. And so we're going to keep counting counter plus equal 1. And eventually we want to wrap around to 0 again. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So it's something like that. What you do in that case is you do counter modulo equals 4 or 3 or whatever, and then that counter will keep wrapping around. And so I use that a lot, but that's probably the time that I use it the most, unless I need to specifically look at like divisibility or remainders or something like that. Okay, so that's the modulo operator.